So module 3, in the next few modules, we're going to talk through managing debt. And the first step to managing debt, to understand how to manage your debt, you have to know the difference between good debt and bad debt, because not all debt is necessarily bad. So in this module, let's talk about what good debt is. Now that you know what debt is and what happens to get into debt quickly, once you're in debt, what's good debt? Okay, so good debt can be one of several things. The first one is if you get debt that helps you get an asset that makes you money. Let me say that again. If you get debt, so you borrowed money to get an asset that makes you money. So let's give an example. If you've ever wanted to buy an investment property or a rental property or maybe some gold jewelry that appreciates, which we all hope it appreciates. Of course, gold can go down too. But that's the hope, is that it appreciates. Same thing in the rental property. Of course, there's always risk in everything that we do. But the goal is for you to borrow money to buy an asset that will make you money. So the idea, again, if I'm getting rent every month from a rental property, and it helps me pay the debt. You see where I'm going with this? It actually, they pay me the payment to rent my investment property, and I take that money to pay the debt off. So essentially, the asset is paying down the debt itself. That's good debt. That's debt that in time, your hope is that you will make money, that you won't even have to worry about not only the interest on the debt, but you'll make money above and beyond what you borrowed and what you paid in interest. That's the goal. We call this leverage too. You're leveraging the debt. You're leveraging money that you borrowed and trying to make money on that money, called leverage. So again, I mentioned the gold. Obviously, gold doesn't pay you a rent check, but the hope in general is that when you borrow money to buy gold jewelry, that's just an example. It's not a recommendation. Please don't run out and go buy a bunch of gold jewelry. But these are some examples that I've seen and that hopefully you can apply in your own life of what might be something that you want to make money on. Maybe invest in a business, for example. That's another example. So anyway, good debt is debt that you attain in order to make money on an asset. That's the goal. That's the mindset. And then the second thing that goes along with good debt is having a low interest rate. You want a low interest rate because the lower the interest that you're paying, that allows you all the more easy to make money on that debt. So for example, if I borrow $100,000 and I'm paying 3% on that debt, and then I go out and I purchase, again, doesn't matter what it is, a property, a business, a gold, an investment, whatever, any kind of investment, and I'm making 6% on that investment. I just made 3% by having that loan. I'm only paying 3 and I'm making 6. So I'm making the difference, right? I'm making 3% on that loan. So that's the idea, is that you have to have a low interest rate, low enough that you can go out and make that kind of money above and beyond the interest that you're paying. Again, not a recommendation. This is just something that you can apply in your personal life to know that this isn't necessarily bad debt. This is a debt that you can keep as long as you're making the money to pay the payment. And the final piece to good debt is there are some loans out there that they allow you to take out 30 years with a low interest rate. So for instance, like student loans. Student loans are not bad debt. You can even defer sometimes student loans if you're not working or if you're going to school. It's called deferment. And so you defer those loan payments and you kick it out 30 years. The payments are so small and the interest rate is so low that it's not going to affect your overall financial well-being, because it's not a huge chunk of cash that has to go out every month for interest or towards the principal. So not to mention, when we talk about interest, sometimes they're deductible. So that's the last piece to good debt, is being deductible. So student loan interest is deductible to some people. Ask your accountant. I would refer to an accountant to make sure that in your situation that it is deductible, because it's not for everybody. But same thing with mortgage interest. Up to a certain amount of debt it is going to be deductible. So that kind of changes things too, and how much interest you're paying, and you in turn get a tax deduction for it. So again, let's recap. So what's good debt? Because then we can talk about how do we manage all our debt. Good debt is debt that either you're acquiring to get an asset or an investment that makes you money. So it's helping you pay the debt payment. Or it's a loan that has a very low interest rate. I even mentioned in the first module, I think it was, that it was 0%. You can get 0%. That's good debt. You don't have to pay that off right away. You're getting 0% in interest. That's good debt. That's something that we can manage very easily. And then also the longer the term, and along with a lower interest rate, you don't want a super long term with a higher interest rate, but if you have both of those characteristics, if it does have a fairly low interest rate, and I would say if you're watching this around 2017, 2018, a low interest rate is considered like under 4%. That's a good interest rate. But if you have a lower interest rate and you can kick it out 30 years, financially, you're not going to have to pay out a ton of money every month for that loan. So you have a lot of flexibility with that kind of debt. And finally, the debt sometimes is deductible. The interest is deductible. Again, ask your accountant. But student loans, some loans on properties, mortgage interest, equity line interest, you can talk through that with your accountant on what is deductible for you. But that's all good debt. And now in the next module, we're going to talk about what is bad debt and the debt that we have to focus on first.